Good afternoon, everyone, from the IBD Newsroom. My name is Ken Shreve. I'm joined by Ed Carson. On today's show, we're going to take a look at what we're calling a pretty constructive day for the stock market. The NASDAQ S&P 500 end with mild losses after bullish gains on Monday. And Ed, you have three stocks that we're going to talk about today. Why don't you tell us what's going on there?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at Beyond Meat, Axonics, Modulation, and Integris, three different stocks, but they all basically cleared buy points today, so definitely worth looking at today.
Okay, very good. Well, let's start by taking a look at the NASDAQ composite here. Assume that's showing well on the screen. So the NASDAQ today ended lower by, let's see, about 0.3%. Again, it was up 1.9% yesterday, declines 0.3% today in lighter volume. And Ed, noticing that it held the 11,000 level and also above the 50-day moving average here.
Yeah, I mean, after three days, well, especially the last two were pretty darn strong. And we pulled back a tiny bit, looks like on lighter volume than yesterday. I mean, this is just fine. You know, as you're saying, there's nice bullish undertones to this because holding the 50 days is important. We haven't really shown, we wouldn't need to see one more great day. If we can have really, really strong day and higher volume, that'd be really impressive, especially if we got above the September 10th highs. But this is happy action.
Yeah, definitely looked at some of the top performing industry groups late in the session, saw the solar stocks up 1.4% as a group, the enterprise software group up 1.4%, and NVIDIA, a member of the chip designer group, that was also had a nice day. So some good strength underneath the market. I also wanted to take a look at a chart for the S&P 500, and we'll point this out because, Ed, well, why don't you explain here? S&P was down moderately.
Yeah, it's a little bit less. It's a little bit more negative on this one, just because yesterday it came up to the 50-day line, and today it was unable to get above it, whereas the Nasdaq held above it. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference here. If we have a strong day going forward, the S&P will cross forward, and then and if we have a down day, the Nasdaq will come down. But it was so just something to watch, that the broader market still needs work just to get above some early resistance here.
Okay, well, we have the first presidential debate tonight. We'll see if that moves the market in the morning. But let's look at three individual stocks that moved nicely in the stock market today, starting with Beyond Meat. What was the story here, Ed?
Yeah, Beyond Meat, I think this was a breakout. It's hard to see the handle from a few weeks ago. It sort of butted up against it. Whether or not you consider the high from a few days ago as a handle, or maybe a few days before that as a handle, it sort of cleared some resistance, and so it broke out from that, but not on a weekly chart. It did move above, clearly that, alternative hand, the all-time high, which also is seen as a buy point, but it did come back intraday. There was good news today. It's significantly extended its distribution deal with Walmart. That's the name of the game. It's like there seems to be, it's profitable or it's on the edge of profitability back and forth. Sales growth is strong, so it's getting not just the growth, but getting into as many retailers and restaurants as possible, making those deals, locking it in, trying to get the shelf space, and really expand while this is a new market.
Yeah, this is a pretty significant expansion of the distribution deal. Apparently, it was 800 stores. That's going to triple to 2,400 stores, where Beyond Meat burgers are going to be carried at Walmart. So stock responded pretty well to that news. All right, let's move on and take a look at a small cap stock, Axonics, Modulation Technology. And looking at the weekly chart here, this looks like a good technical breakout as well.
That's right. It was done, I believe, as a stock of the day a few days ago, and you can see the blue dot on the relative strength line that shows that it was the relative strength of the new high. That's when it's basing or breaking out. That's always really a bullish sign. So we really like to make that clear. Nice breakout. Had a shakeout a few weeks ago. It was a really nasty shakeout. This is one reason why it's a good idea to wait for a buy point rather than just sort of buy when it's basing, because that would have been tough. But it bounced right back, and a nice breakout here. There's a bit of a wireless distance telehealth medicine angle to this. That's always a positive. Pretty strong growth on the sales numbers, really tiny numbers on some of them, but it's eventually over time should become more substantial. That's the only thing, is that it's losing money and it's very small sales, but the sales growth is tremendous.
And as Chris Gessel pointed out in today's edition of IBD Live, the other thing to keep in mind here is that fund sponsorship is looking pretty good. We know Lord Abbott, which is a good growth shop, a good mutual fund family, owns shares, and you can see fund ownership has been picking up the pace in recent quarters. So a lot of positives. It's a more speculative stock, Axonics, but definitely a lot of positives as well. Okay, let's finish up with Integris. This is in the chip equipment group. Semiconductor stocks enjoyed another day of outperformance. And why don't we start with the daily chart here for Integris? And nice rally in recent days, Ed.
Yeah, on Friday it retook its 50-day line. On Monday, you could say it cleared a trend line and was getting right up there. Today it got above, convincingly got above 71.74, sort of the middle of that base, if you want to sort of think of it as a double bottom or just as a resistance area. It didn't get all the way up to the high of the consolidation, which would have been another buy point, but there were a couple of early entries. And in general, I would say if you can find early entries, and again, you just want to tiptoe overall, but if you can do an early entry, so you're not committing too much, and then as it continues to move up in that base, you might be able to build a full position without risking too much. Because if this market rolls over, which it very well could, I mean, just not saying it, so far everything's looking positive, but it certainly could. That way, you're not risking too much along the way.
Okay. Well, thanks for all that insight, Ed. We appreciate it. And again, just taking a step back from the market, we had bullish gains for the stock market on Monday, kind of moderate declines today in lower volumes. We would call that a constructive session. We'll see how the presidential debate plays out tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow. Actually, Ed and Justin will be back here for the stock market today video. And want to thank you very much for joining us. And if you haven't done so already, please check us out for IBD Live. We go on the air every morning at 9:20 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:20 a.m. Pacific. We'll go over what we saw in today's market. We'll discuss the action in individual stocks, go over some pre-market movers. Always a lot of fun. So if you haven't checked out IBD Live already, just go to investors.com/IBD Live and you can sign up for a free trial. Until then, we will see you tomorrow. Thanks very much for watching.